Hey everyone, and welcome to the Art of Online Marketing live show. My name is Denise Allison, and I help businesses grow with social media and live video. Today's topic is creating a mesmerizing learning experience, and I have a special guest with me today, Sandra Curry Sampson. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Allison.
And she is an adult educator, a course creator, and a speaker. So, Sandra, for those of in my audience who don't know you, please introduce yourself to them.
Sure. Thanks for having me, and it's a pleasure to see everyone today. My business is really helping people share what they know with others, and I do that by helping them develop their own courses, workshops, and programs, and helping them really get their message out there by employing really great best practices on how to create fabulous, strong content, purposeful meaning activities so that people are really learning what they do. Yeah.
Great. So today you're going to talk to us a little bit more about how we can create meaningful conversations and really engage our audience to make sure that what we are teaching is landing and that our audience is paying attention and wants to stick around to learn more. So can you share with us how we might do that, because we all really want to know.
Yeah. So anytime we create content for anything that we do for our clients and customers, we really, you're teaching. And I think sometimes we get caught up in that, I've seen that, I know how to teach. I see everyone to teach it. And, sometimes we have to think of it from our audience perspective. So some of the things that audiences are looking for at this time, in content, there's a couple of things. So one of the first things I want to share with people is that people are really looking for real-time events. And I know in my work, I hear a lot of people say, I want to create that passive income or that passive activity, that it's there and people can just go and, access it on their own time. And what I've been hearing and what the research is really starting to show is that people want real time. They want to be a part of something, they want to join in, and they want to witness it live. And one of the things about that is that when it's a live event, people are more likely to jump on the bandwagon because they don't want to miss it. So if it's a live event, you're more likely to have that participation and that audience buy-in. So make sure that you have some sort of real-time element. Facebook Live, like this, is a great way of engaging your audiences that way. Webinars, live Q&As, all those kind of things help, bring people in and be part of something, which leads me to my second point, is that people really, they want to be part of a community. Participants, they want to be part of a group, and they want to know that they can, have discussions with people and be, that there's some sort of interdependence. Their learning depends on other people.
Yeah.
And, having things together like group meetings, like Zoom meetings, so that they can have those discussions, having people hook up and, maybe do some projects and stuff like that, and discussions are a fantastic way to really help them become part of that community. Having that Facebook group so that they can go in and discuss and interact with each other is really important to people. So create a sense of community for people. But that being said, they also want interaction with you. And sometimes, again, we think we can just create something and they're just going to access it on their own. They really, because you're the subject matter expert in whatever you do, they want to engage with you in some way. So again, if you're going to have those, Facebook groups, make sure that you're the one that's popping in on a regular basis, because they really want that interaction with you. The other thing too is sometimes we really get away from creating content that is really useful and relevant and purposeful for people. People want to be engaged, but they also want to know that what they're listening to you talk about, what you're sharing with them, is something that they're going to be able to take away and action on. And often as as people who are brilliant in what we do, we forget that our audience has specific needs and wants of their own. And we think we know our audience, but we don't necessarily know everything about them. So knowing more about our audience and then absolutely being able to create that content is key for them. And one of the things that I often talk about in that content creation is that it's great to share a lot of information with people, but we don't want to share too much because it becomes too overwhelming for people to take in. But we also want to really build in 3 aspects of that content. And that is giving people a chance to reflect on what you're saying. So, get them to think about a time that, how this is going to help them, or, what do they already know about this topic? And just have them, just take a moment to inwardly think about things. So questions are a great thing to be posing to your audience, as you're, introducing information. So having them reflect on things. Make sure that you, have them recall things. We can only, do you know how many things we can remember at one time in our working memory? Denise, do you know?
1?
Some days it feels like that. But it's really 7. So if you, at any one time, we're thinking we can have 7 things in our working memory. And if we don't take the time to recall and think about what we just heard and say it again, or, just like, so we just talked about these 3 things. What were the 3 things? If we don't ask our audience sometimes, they have forgotten it. It never gets into their short-term memory and into their working memory.
So it's as simple as re-asking them what they just learned? Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? It's so funny because when I do that, people what were you just saying? It shows you how fast people forget. And it's just, so those are that's a really useful thing as well.
Okay.
And you know what? I always give them something to apply. Like, you know what, go home and do this, or, try this, because if people don't actually take it and apply it, they're not going to learn it and memorize it. And I sort of, give the example of when you're going to, you go to a YouTube channel to learn, the other day, I forget what I was trying to do. It was a technical thing on my computer. Oh, I don't know how it's not working. So I went to YouTube and Googled, and said, well, how do I do this? And I watched the video. If I hadn't gone and done it immediately, I would have forgotten it, right?
Yeah,
I would have had to go back and re-watch that video. And so giving people those challenges or those suggestions to go do it immediately, and then have them email you or go into your Facebook group or something like that and say, this is how it went, or this is, I got stuck on this. Those are great ways of really engaging your community and really helping them to learn. Yeah.
Great. So how could you apply this? That sounds like a great idea if you are teaching to a group in a course setting. Is there a way that you could apply that in content marketing, such as Facebook Lives, video tutorials, and those kinds of things?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even when you're doing a Facebook Live, and I think when you're doing, like, say, a webinar, I think it's your opportunity to employ those same principles, because even if you're doing it for content marketing, it is a teaching moment.
Yes.
And one of those things is what I've noticed in a lot of that content is that we talk a lot about what we can do and how we can help, which is really important. But I think it's also giving those moments to teach. So often I will say just for a moment, think about a time, like, to pull in some of that reflection. Think about a time when this didn't work, and just, it's okay to have a moment or two of silence. I know sometimes we think, oh,
yeah,
it's silent, but give them that moment to let their brain engage, and then say, okay, so how did it make you feel, right? Just think about that, and just, that is a really powerful way of setting up our message, right? And letting them feel it from their own perspective. As adults, we bring a lot of experience to everything that we do, right? We have a lot of knowledge, we know a lot of things, but sometimes we have to tap into that emotional connection with our audience, to make them feel things. And that's one way you can do that when you're creating that content for absolutely online, for content marketing. At the end, like even today, I can say, okay, so what was some of the things I said, Denise, that
that we only remember 7 things at any given time.
Right? What are people looking for in content, real time, having people, recall that kind of thing really emphasizes your points, right? So you can think of the ways of doing that. And then the application again too can help people, try it. If you're creating content marketing, you are teaching people. So people want to learn and trust from you. And they want to know that you know what you're talking about. So if you're able to teach it within a short, 10-minute Facebook Live, some key component, and get them to try it, and it works for them, then guess what? They've just said, hey, that person's good for me. I know I can learn from them. So that is, that's a challenge that you can set up for yourself and give it a try and see how it works.
Okay. So how do we find that fine line between kind of skimming over a topic that's not really giving you enough information to do it, giving so much information that it's overwhelming, and finding that happy medium where it's enough to get them going, but not so much that it's too much?
Okay, so a couple of things about that. One thing I always say, know who your audience is going to be. What are they looking for when they sign up for that webinar? What are they looking for, and match it for what your purpose is. So know your purpose. Why are you going to offer a webinar? Okay. Is it to get them to sign up for something? Is it just to do some sort of like, here I am, follow me? So know your purpose and know what your audience is looking for. And then, create that outline with a couple of touch points, and then take about 25% out. I think what happens is we try to give too much in a short period of time. You can only talk about, relatively key points, 1 or 2 key points in a short period of time. So figure what those key points are, and make it seem that, hey, I know what I'm talking about. This is really important, but make sure that you're not giving everything. You leave them wanting for more. So I always go by less is more. Don't overwhelm. I've been on, sometimes, for instance, I've gone on webinars where they say it's it'll be an hour, and it's gone on longer, which is terrible, but it's overwhelming, and it goes too fast. There's too much content. So I think you need to pick a couple of key points and center your content around that.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll get on a webinar or a Facebook Live or some type of other training where the points are so broad and unrelated that you can't really wrap your mind around all of them, because they seem to jump all over the place with what's going on. So I can definitely see why that's important. So you shared an interesting statistic with me before we went live about the percentage of what the completion rate percentage is of courses. Would you like to share that with the audience?
Sure. So I've been doing some research, the theorist in me, and one of the things that I've, that's been pretty apparent is that some of our online courses, the enrollment has gone down, and I think that's because there's a couple of factors but we've really, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of online courses, and a study done by Penn State, I thought it was Harvard, it's Penn State. It's only 4% of people who actually sign on for an online course actually complete it.
Wow.
And yeah, I know that's crazy, right? Yeah. And it's because there's a whole lot of things going on, and people find it boring, or it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. It's not engaging enough, or life happens and they just other things get in the way, and it doesn't become that priority for them. Mm-hmm. But I think as anyone who's creating content or online courses, it really shows that we need to really understand who our audience is. and create that course for them.
Yeah.
And sort of sometimes we have to sort of say, oh, as much as I want to share everything, we have to be cognizant of what our audience needs, and create that course for that, and really find the niche piece of what's different than everything else that's out there. And I think sometimes we have to spend some time building the foundation before we can get into the real fancy, fine, creative stuff.
Yeah. Sandra, was there any breakdown in which types of courses get a higher completion rate?
No, they really didn't go. I think it was more in general.
Okay.
They didn't have completion rate, but again, some of the research says some of the things that I said at the top of our conversation is if it's real time, people are more likely to stay involved.
Yeah.
That sense of community and interaction with people. So I hear a lot of people say, I want to create that passive course. People just sign up and I make money. And there's so many of them right now that it's hard to keep people, from start to finish on those.
And the challenge with the passive courses is some of the same challenges I see around other types of content. So whether it's a video that's not live or a blog or what have you, is there's no real urgency to consume it. So if you are signed up for course and you can do the lessons whenever you're like, oh, I'm busy, I'll do that sometime, and then you never end up doing them. Whereas if the training is done live, then you have a reason to show up because you can ask questions and interact. And that's the same reason I love Facebook Live is when you're watching live, you can ask questions, it's timely, and you feel like you're being sucked into the liveness of everything. So so I can absolutely see why that's important.
Yeah, it's a sense of community, right? You're part of something, and you're learning from not just the person that's facilitating the process, but you're also learning from other people. And I think people have become we've swung so much one way in the whole self-directed and I can do it on my own time and everything's technology driven. People are starting to come back into that. No, I need interaction with people because we're human, right?
Absolutely.
And that's why Facebook Lives, those Facebook groups that you can go in and do live sessions is great. Zoom meetings is fabulous for that as well.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers today?
No, I just would love to, just have people just be aware. One of the things that I say all the time is that, just because we're brilliant at what we do doesn't mean we necessarily can teach it to others. And I strongly believe that. And I think sometimes when we stumble at trying to create content, and it's because we think it's easy, and there's a little bit more work to it and a little bit of foundation building that has to go into it. So I just want to caution anyone who's listening and just think about that a little bit. And for absolutely, if they would love to have a conversation, they can reach out to me. I have a learning checklist that's a downloadable checklist for you if you're creating content on my website, as well as you can go in and sign in for a one-on-one conversation, 1 hour power hour with me if you're looking at creating content for yourself.
And if our audience wants to do that, how can they find you?
Sure. So that's the key point. It's sandracurrysampson.com. Mm-hmm. You can go to me, and we can put the link, I guess, in the comments too down below. We're done.
Perfect. All right, Sandra, thanks so much for being here with me today. That was awesome content, and I'm looking forward to applying some of that into my own teaching, and I'm hoping my audience can use some of this as well in their own online marketing efforts. So thanks so much for being here with us today, to my lovely audience, and I will be back next week for another episode of The Art of Online Marketing. So thanks, everyone, and see you all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandra. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.